Can I manifest something?
Sure,
with you
yeah,
right
please.
here,
That's
right
why
now?
I thought I'd bring it up.
Well, Marvel now has regained the rights to X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a really cool idea to have a trans woman be Mystique.
This is Good One. I am Jesse David Fox, senior writer at Vulture and author of Comedy Book. My guest this episode is Jinkx Monsoon. We discuss Drag Race All-Stars, and Oh Mary, the Broadway comedy she stars in through September 27th. Get your tickets now. We also discuss roast jokes, what makes good ones and ones that are not so good. Jinkx does like 6 or 7 impressions throughout the interview, and you'll never guess what TV theme song she sings. So here is Jinkx Monsoon. I'm here with Jinkx Monsoon. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, what is the funniest thing that happened to you this week?
I have been waiting for somewhere to tell this story.
That's why we asked
because
the question.
This just happened. And I orchestrated this funny thing. But it was 10 times funnier than I could have prepared for. So, unbeknownst to me until moments before the curtain at our Oh Mary performance on Tuesday evening. Out from like a random room I didn't know exists comes Katy Perry and her people. Mm-hmm. And Kumail's the only one who notices her and goes, "That was Katy Perry, everyone." And so I know in my mind, Katy Perry's at the show. What do you do with that, right? Yeah. And there was a moment when I accidentally made direct eye contact with her, and I felt like I was frozen to stone. And my next line was, "Great big ball sacks," and I delivered it right to her, And so, I don't know, I was just like staring down the barrel, like, what am I going to do with all of this? And I knew she was going to be backstage afterward. And I was seeing my friend Sam Lansky. We were each other's first boyfriend, among other things. And so I had been so thinking about seeing my friends that night, I hadn't prepared. So I'm in my dressing room post-show. What is the funniest thing I can say to Katy Perry? Now, sometimes when I decide what's the funniest thing I can say to someone, I get nervous. So instead of just saying it, I prep them, and then I say it.
Like you go, I was thinking what would be the funniest thing to say to you.
Exactly.
And this is what I thought of.
And so this is how the exchange went.
Sure.
I'm catching up with old friends. I feel a tap on my shoulder. I turn around. I am now eye-locked with Katy Perry, who has a big smile on her face. And I say, "Katy Perry, I don't know what to say to you, but I have been thinking what would be the funniest first words that I could possibly utter to you." And she says, "Okay, so what are they?" And I said, "So now you're back from outer space." And then I just looked at her and I said, "Is that funny?" And she goes, "Those were the first words you wanted to say to me." And I said, "Was it funny?" And she said, "It was very funny. It was hilarious." But she didn't laugh at all. She just said, and then she's friends with mutual friends there. And so next thing I know, I'm just like saying hi to old friends. And every time I look over my shoulder, Katy Perry's like, "Oh, yeah, tell me about that." I was like, "Okay, Katy Perry, I'll tell you about my first blowjob, sure." You know what I mean? How do you prepare for that? And I honestly, it's like, I'm so glad I just went with what would be the funniest thing I could say to her, because what does one say?
I'm sure you've met famous people before. Is it always like that?
I've met famous people before, yes. And it's not always like that, no. Because I do believe that there is a level of fame that we know, those of us with any access, adjacency, or notoriety ourselves, we know what it's like to a degree.
Yeah.
So, like, the level of notoriety I'm at right now, I get recognized, people asking me for photos. And that's just being me, right? A fairly niche queer celebrity, right? And then I think about people like Madonna and Cher and Katy Perry and these pop stars, and specifically women.
Yeah.
Pop stars who have been famous for so long, multiple decades, and what we know the industry does to women. And I guess I have to give them some grace. That doesn't mean I disagree with so many things so many people do, right? So I don't want this to sound like I'm saying, don't hold people for their bad behavior. But I think we need to put it through the context, through the lens of what we know to be true. And what I know to be true is fame is difficult. And I think global, universal, household name kind of fame, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And frankly, I hope I never have to figure that out for myself. Because my favorite thing about my life right now is all the community that I get out of it. And if I ever lost touch with that, I'd lose touch with why I'm doing this.
Yeah, if you get so famous where you can't have community because it's like there's 6 people as famous as you are, and they can't be hanging out. They have to like just live their solo lives.
And I can't even imagine. So I don't know. That's why I'm saying, what does one say?
Yeah.
Like, I have been thinking a lot these days, like, there are people I have choice words for. I've shared some recently. But then I think, if I looked that person in the eyes, because like, I try to come from love. And I always, people will tell me stories, and I hear stories about this person or that person. And it's like, it gets in, but I always try to reserve how I feel about a person until I meet them. Because, but you have to always have the context in there. You have to think of everything, and that's really hard to do in a split second.
Yeah. While you're doing a show the entire time. You're like during a show, but also part of...
And I was trying so hard not to think about it, and I was pretty good until I looked directly in her eyes, because I had not paid attention to where she might be, and I'm really good at doing the soft focus where I can't really... I can look into the audience, but I don't really see people, But... this was the monologue I delivered directly to the audience. And so I'm like forcing my eyes open, looking at people. And that's when I'm like, and so from that moment forward, my brain is thinking, luckily, that's like my last big monologue.
The show has a certain sort of rhythm.
Once I get past a certain point, it's, other people have harder jobs. But so in those moments where I'm kind of just listening in repose, I was also thinking, what is life? What is life?
Yeah.
That truly, I love my life so much, and it has become surreal to a point that I'm like, I didn't know I would ever be in that moment where I'm trying to think of what's the funniest thing to say to Katy Perry, but here we are.
Yeah, life can't prepare you for that.
And then the following day, I met Charlie Day. And I got to tell you, I freaked out. It was Charlie Day.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what is my life? I was thinking, have you ever noticed that there's kind of like a comedy club? There's like the young, cool, queer comedy club, and then there's the middle-aged, alt comedy club, and then there's the old veterans who, anyway.
But yes, I'm familiar with these clubs.
And here I am looking at members of one of the clubs I've always just kind of dreamt of even just being adjacent to.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to say, I've seen every episode of It's Always Sunny. I love it, And it's one of those shows where it's like, this does not line up with anything of who I am, but it makes me feel like it must be what Bianca Del Rio fans feel like, right? Purposefully watching something rotted because you need to get it out, and these people are doing it for you.
Did you tell that to Charlie?
I didn't tell all that to Charlie. I told Charlie how much I loved the show and, call on me I'll do pretty much anything.
Yeah.
I was watching Alana Ubach on her clips on It's Always Sunny. She plays a recurring sad character. And she is like one of the most versatile actresses out there. And I admire her so much. And we were chatting one day, and then I had to watch clips of her and everything and listen to La Llorona like 8 times. But anyway, I brought her up to him, and then he started doing impressions of her. He goes, "Man, this jacket is tighter than dick skin." I got to watch Charlie Day do an impression of one of the characters. And I told him, I love the show. I love each and every one of you. Please tell the whole gang.
Yeah?
Yeah. How much I love the show. But I have to admit, I've always related to Sweet D and Caitlin Olsen the most because I've always been the chick in the group full of guys. They were gay guys and I wasn't a chick then, but... And of course, Charlie laughed. And Kumail's just sitting there like... Because, Kumail and I have become such fast friends.
Yeah.
And he has such cool friends. I was like, I guess I wasn't prepared, for all of this.
Yes, because Kumail... because in many ways the show, as you mentioned, there's these sort of groups of comedy. And, this was on the radar of the sort of ascending queer comedy scene of the last 5-10 years. But Kumail is a centerpiece of the comedy scene that was before that. So everyone who was who's around 38 to 45 that you might have liked will probably come to the show.
Well, and this is the beautiful thing about casting and having such a diverse cast in such a well-written, well-directed show is we each get to really shine with our own special brand of what we bring to the roles. But then there's also the audiences we bring. Michael Urie attracts a different audience than I attract, than Jen Harris attracts, than Kumail attracts. And it's in the same day, we're meeting Drew Droege and Charlie Day and Katy Perry and Paula Pell was there yesterday. She's such a good friend of mine. And, she's such a good person. I don't want to make it sound like we're going
really
to tea every day, but we do text each other pictures of our pets. And Paula Pell yesterday came by my apartment to drop off clothes she wanted to donate to queer drag performers, of whom I know many. Mm-hmm. And in Portland, Oregon, we've already been donating a lot of my backlog to queer charities, so we know right where to send Paula's sequin caftans. What is life, Jesse?
It's wild. Well, I want to back up for a sec for context for our conversation for people who maybe are less familiar with drag. You started drag before drag was mainstream. It was in many ways in the opposition to the mainstream. It has now become more mainstream, but also as a result, there has been a target placed on its back in many ways. This is sort of a big question, so take your time. How has your understanding of what drag is for evolved?
This is easy. Well, there was a time I thought comedy was frivolous. Mm-hmm. I think we're taught that in our society. I think it's hinted at in acting school that there's a hierarchy of theaters, where there's a hierarchy of performance level, what kind of things you do. And I remember feeling the whole thing was don't get pigeonholed, don't become a character actor. And by senior year, I was like, I'm clearly a character actor, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be okay. I had an internship my senior year, and I went straight into working as a character actor in Seattle. So what was the original question?
What is drag for?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I thought comedy was frivolous. It's not. It's divine, right? There's a reason why the comedy mask is right there with the tragedy mask. It takes both. When BenDeLaCreme and I created the Jinkx DeLa Holiday Show, it started out as something fun we wanted to do, and it's become something that we find as like our service to our community. Yes, we get a lot from it, but we hear from people every night that they get a lot from it too. And over the years, it's evolved from something just kind of fun and silly into something that's fun and silly and very important to us.
Yeah.
So I just think, especially in times as dark as these, the ability to make people laugh, even through tears, is like, it's been such a privilege, you know? And I'm being told every night, just like at the Jinkx DeLa Holiday Show, being told at Pirates, the Penzance musical, which was very silly but had heart and a message, you know, we needed this. They keep saying we really needed this. And then at Oh Mary, people are saying, you don't know how much I needed to laugh. And again, I was teasing Bianca Del Rio, but you know what? Do you know what I love about her audiences? Do you know who like a big portion of her audience is? Lawyers, doctors, surgeons, ER responders, like the people who see the worst of everything. So her... you know, her spicy humor is a break for them somehow.
Yeah.
And I think that's divine, you know? And Oh Mary, obviously, there's something really true and honest that everyone can see easily there.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to look. The heart is beating loudly. The message rings clear. And also, it is the silliest, stupidest stuff that I think ever made it to Broadway. I don't know. I don't know every Broadway show that's ever happened, but it's really
surely
amazing.
up there. Yeah.
Because it's so authentic to what Cole created, even in the most mainstream of markets. And we're learning that the world, you know, I was told my whole life, our society, the world, you have to tone these things down to have a career because the world isn't ready for people who are that much, you know? And that's why I had to go to drag, because I was too much for for where I started. And now too much is not too much, because I think we've seen what too much looks like.
Yeah.
Drag queens are not too much these days.
Do you think of Oh Mary as a drag performance?
I think of all theater as a drag performance. I mean, I don't want to like sideball
No, it's
your
fine.
question,
That's I think part of the idea.
I would watch David Hyde Pierce become the modern Major General. And I'm like, we're wearing the same amount of makeup, the same amount of fake hair, the same amount of costumery, just different gender presentations, you know? And he steps fully into his character just like a drag queen. And the reason why drag and high stakes, high presentation comedy and musicals, and they all have these similarities, especially in the performance style and the performance aesthetic and presentation. It's because it all stems back to like classical clown, archetype building, form building to inform the character, to inform the audience. It's all the same thing. And really, Sunset Boulevard, it's the same thing, even if it's all stripped back and she's wearing a slip the whole time. It's the same thing. It's just with like it's the 10% version. Like right now, am I in drag or aren't I?
I had it written down. Are you in drag or aren't? Well, I was just going to write, are you in drag? Do you feel like when you do a press tour, it is a certain sort of drag?
Yeah, it's my press drag.
Yeah.
Like that's how we refer to it, because I'm not in drag and I'm not in drag. I'm in as much drag as any other female actress would be on your podcast. I mean, how many women are wearing hair that didn't grow that way, let's just say, or didn't grow on their head? How many? right? How many women are wearing as much makeup as me these days? And I'm wearing the same amount of makeup I wear on stage, just different hues.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? And I was styled today. Every actress is styled, you know? Like, so what is the difference? There isn't any. You're in drag right now, too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wearing makeup.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
And
but,
this hat, the glasses, the choice of that style of pen versus any other pen, everything, even the things that seem unassuming.
No, I mean, I will say this is, I'm not going to pretend this was like an unintentional, I wear essentially the exact same outfit every single episode of the show.
Right.
For that reason. Because
that's your character you've built.
Yes.
And that's the way you want everyone to perceive you. And you've put thought into it. And we all do it. We just do it at different levels. Drag queens take the dial for that and go and break the dial off.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. Everyone else is kind of finding a way to turn the bass up, turn the treble down. Drag queens just... give me that.
Yeah, everything to the max.
You know?
How does it... So, like, when I spoke to DeLa, and there is a certain divide for him, do you feel like it's less about a divide as much as, like, a spectrum of the amount of... Yeah, I don't even know what I would refer to the spectrum of.
I hear you. I don't know. I'm figuring this out as I go.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not the first drag queen to transition, and I'm not the only drag queen transitioning right now. We're all figuring it out.
Yeah.
But but there have always been trans women who do drag, and then you see them in their day wear, and sometimes they're glam, and sometimes they're wearing their sweats, like any woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so I'm still figuring out. But what I like to think of is, again, think of anyone who has a stage name or pen name.
Mm-hmm.
So Jinkx Monsoon was my drag name, and it still is. I still do drag in many contexts. The Jinkx and DeLa Holiday Show, the dial's up over here, you know? And you'll see the difference when I look like that's not the woman I saw across the table from me. That is like some kind of mutant blow-up doll alien witch lady, you know? Mm-hmm. So there's clearly an aesthetic difference, but we're just figuring it out. So we kind of call my chosen name is Hera. We call this Hera drag.
Yeah.
Even though I'm still here as Jinkx Monsoon because that's my stage name.
Yeah. And this is a stage capacity.
Did that make it any
I mean,
sense?
I think it's a thing that what's so fascinating is it's a thing one figures out. I think people in a lot of these conversations want there to be an answer and be like, drag is this and I only am doing drag there. Because I think people are not comfortable with the idea that they are doing some version of drag in their everyday life so much as they're choosing.
And furthermore, if you have changed your appearance, then you've transitioned a little bit. I'm not saying that like everybody's trans. That is not what I'm saying. So don't conflate this into something else. What I'm saying is we all use the same things to affirm ourselves that trans people use. Again, trans people turn the dial to where they are comfortable. If you're born feeling comfortable the way you are and the way you're perceived, you don't have to turn that dial very much. And then you assume that no one turns the dial. I'm serious.
Yeah.
But think of how many women dye their hair. Think of how many men go to the gym every day. I mean, think of how many cis people are using the same drugs that trans people are using for their hormone imbalances. And those drugs, how did they come into existence? From the studies done to help trans people transition.
Yeah.
So, like, we need to stop it.
Yeah, it's extremely normalized to have most likely straight guys talking about taking testosterone. And they have no idea at anything related.
And imagine. Yeah. Imagine being a trans person, watching straight men, the same straight men,
Yeah.
who want to ban our right to the hormones they're taking in America, where we're all supposed to have the same rights without question
Yeah.
at all, first of all.
Yeah.
So what the hell is going on here?
I don't know.
Well, that's why I kind of don't give a shit anymore. I just like, I said, I mean, they're not working with truth. They're working with lies. So I have to double down on the truth. And I try not to get angry because what good would being angry at you in this moment? Like, what good would being angry right now do? Or even getting angry in person. Like, where my power is doubling down on how I get the truth out. And every time I'm on stage, whether I'm doing scripted material or I'm talking out my ass or I'm doing my own material, I'm just trying to be honest because we're being lied to in every direction. And artists have to step up and double down on the truth.
When you first saw Oh Mary off Broadway, I believe, do you remember the moment in the show where you go, "This is me. This is I could have written this show." I mean, obviously it's so specific to Cole, but there's so many parallels.
Yeah. I mean, it was. So I saw it at the Lortel before it went, like shortly before the Broadway transfer was announced. And it was like I could hear the rumblings after the show. I could hear the little whispers of like, yeah, well, things are in talks, blah, 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 because, you know, it's friends after the show saying hi. And, okay, I'm watching the show. 10 minutes in, I'm thinking I already knew Cole was a genius. I've been Cole's friend for about 13, 15 years now. I've been following Cole's career for 20 years from YouTube. And that's when YouTube was new. It was a new app.
Yeah.
We didn't call it an app. It was a website.
It was just a website you typed in. I don't even think there was maybe there was search, but like...
Yeah, anyway, so I know Cole's work from way back.
Well, to tangent, do you remember the moment where you saw Cole do something and you're like, this person's a genius?
Yeah, it was way back then. Cole doing Bernadette Peters on a YouTube video, and it wasn't that Cole was doing a drag impersonation of Bernadette Peters. It was that Cole just was doing the work of an actor and became Bernadette Peters for the video. You know what I mean? Wearing like nothing but lipstick because Cole's gorgeous and a wig. And so I've known Cole, and going in, I've said this for a while. I think Cole's the funniest person alive right now, and so I go into Oh Mary already. I know I'm gonna love it because it's Cole. 10 minutes in, I'm thinking, wow, this is incredible. This has to keep going and have a bigger life. And you know, I've had to play producer. I've had to play director. You know. My brain thinks a lot of different ways when I consume things now. And I'm sitting there and my producer brain is thinking, well, this has to go on. This has to get bigger. This has to go to another place. It has to go to the West End. It has to go to Broadway. Cole's going to be amazing. I wonder if anyone else could play it. No, look at what Cole's doing. Only Cole could do this. And then we get about 10 minutes further into the script and I'm like, the writing is so good that I was already thinking, well, if I played it, I could see how I could do it like this. And the writing is so good that even though Cole is undeniably a singular talent, any capable, competent comedic actor can look at that material and say, I know exactly what to do with this character. And I was watching the video of Cole to study blocking and lines and stuff at the beginning of the rehearsal process. Towards the end of the rehearsal process, I thought I'd watch it one more time just to brush up. I watched it for like a minute and I was like, I can't. We're doing completely different Marys. Like, everything was different. But that's because the writing is that good.
Yeah, I mean, definitely seeing it with both of you, it made it more clear the writing of the character and how much potential is for it to be taken in different ways. Could you pinpoint or even articulate how you feel like your Mary is different?
No, I'm still like, I don't know. I play her. So I don't know how
different.
she's different. I know this. All I'm worried about is playing the truth and the honesty of the scene. And it's easy not to break, even when the funniest shit is coming out of your mouth or your scene partner's mouth. It's easy not to break if you treat it like, this is funny to me, the actress, but to the character, this is life or death.
Yeah.
And we had to talk about that a lot in Pirates, the Penzance musical, because the premise of that show is insanely stupid. The text is very old. You know, we had to contextualize everything. But one of the first things Scott Ellis said is, like, the stakes couldn't be higher. This whole show takes place in one day. So even though everything's stupid, you have to remember they are threatening to kill each other, you know? Like, to them, this is extremely serious. So the more you play what's true for the character and true in the world of the show, the funnier it's going to be. Because if you're leaning into the jokes that might be funny, if you're leaning in a wink, wink, ha-ha kind of way, that might be funny. But it only lets us hear the material to a point. Because at a certain point, we're watching you doing your shtick and we're not listening to the script, you know? And so that's why the casting has been so brilliant, is because if you're a competent, capable actor, you can do it all. And you don't need, I always say, if the text is good, you don't need to bring a bunch of party tricks to it. You just need to do it, you know? It's when the text is really, really weak that you start going, okay, what if I did it with a German accent, you know? What if I did it on my head? Because you're trying to think of ways to fix it up.
Yeah.
And there's just no cosmetic surgery needed on this very, very wonderful show.
I mean, watching you do it, it's hard to say, like, I felt for Mary more in certain ways. I felt when there was a sadness that came through in a lot of that's written into the text. I don't know if I put together when the first time I watched it. And I think watching you, I was like, I mean, like, you're laughing. You're like, this is like a person that is, they're like trapped in their circumstance.
Yeah, I guess I've spent a lot of time thinking about women trapped in their circumstances. I've thought a lot about this recently because that was the whole, when I first workshop of Pirates, the Penzance musical, I said, I don't want this to be about Ruth, the older woman, skeezing on this younger man. I don't want to contribute to that conversation as a trans woman at all. But it's what Gilbert and Sullivan wrote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the time, it was just a kooky old lady who wanted to get it on with a hot young man, you know? But you look at the text now and you're like, you know, that's the truth with a lot of older shows. So we decided, let's strip away all the sexuality and just really play and I said, can we just worry about what her circumstances are? She basically says she's only been a serving woman her whole life, and she's been promised for the last 12 years that she's going to get married, and then she doesn't have to be a maid anymore. She even sings in her first song, she took up the worst job imaginable, a maid on a pirate ship. She's a maid on a pirate ship, basically, and for 12 years. And at the end of that, she's supposed to be able to get married and then put her feet up, because that's what happened if you got married, you know? And she's a little long in the tooth, so I don't think she's worried about reproducing. I think she's just worried about getting her vacation, you know what I mean? And when we leaned into that and stripped away all the like tropey, archetypey, sticky humor and just talked about what's true for these two characters, so many of my friends said, "Oh, I never thought about that." The friends I thought would have been on the watch for anything that had weird undertones, they were like, I talked to them about it and the process and the rehearsals, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I didn't get a single hint of that." And you know, that's also my scene partner, the director, the writer, Rupert Holmes. You know, like we all worked together really hard to make sure we felt good about the laughs we were gonna get.
How do you think of when you're doing Mary's makeup? How do you think about it? Unlike, I think, a lot of stage actors, you have a very varied history of doing makeup, and I imagine it can be, I imagine, very considered in a lot of ways. How do you think about it?
So my makeup routine, no matter how long it takes and no matter the character, I like to give myself 2 hours because I like to really like languidly, you know, listen to the playlist I've made for that character, do the makeup, drink my tea, all the things. And with Mary, I do my like base, and then I start adding the sadness. And the sadness is smudgy eyeliner. And I put on my mascara and then blink really hard so it looks like... And a lot of my makeup I put on with my fingers. And then there's like, okay, the eyebrows. I draw on these black eyebrows to match the wig. That's a whole transformation moment because eyebrows do a lot of work. And then I think when I put on way too much blush, that's when I start really feeling for her because the blush is, in my mind, to cover up her rosacea. And I put a little redness on her nose from her years as an alcoholic. So it's like she puts on a lot of blush to hide the damage she's done as an alcoholic. And that's where the sadness comes in. And you know what? I was an alcoholic. I'm 6 years sober from alcohol, and I remember trying to patch things up. It's not fun. It's like a scene from Death Becomes Her.
Do you have a story that captures what it's been like working with Kumail?
Oh.
Who plays Abraham Lincoln in the show, for those who haven't seen?
Okay, Kumail has never done a play before. Like, skip Broadway debut. He didn't even do like a play in high school.
Yeah.
So this is his first ever play. And he is so accomplished and so capable and competent and effective in his work that he just took that work ethic and applied it to something completely new. And he comes off the stage, he comes running over to me. "That was a great show. I can't wait to do tomorrow's show." And I have worked with a handful of people like that, and they are the best people to work with. Like, Corbin Blue's the same way. Corbin Blue is like, "Let's do it again." And, I mean, this cast, it's just all those people. Yeah. Like, Michael Urie is as pro as it gets. Jen Harris is just like, she just knows every single tiny gesture. She knows what she's doing because she knows how funny she is. And she treats it like a responsibility. You know what I mean? And then Tony Mocked. Like, he's been in the show since the beginning, and I just love him. He's just so easy to play off of. Did I miss anyone? No, they're all just the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I've known Kumail for a decent amount of time, and he just seemed so happy at the end of the show.
He was talking at another interview about, since this is his first play, he's been so used to, he described it as the somewhat competitive nature on screen, you know? And I've been thinking about this a lot, like trying to think about what's the biggest difference between film and stage. And I think I figured it out from what Kumail has shared. very generously with us because he's having so much fun. He's telling us lots about what he's finding fun. And so when you're working on camera, you know everyone's going to get their shot.
Mm-hmm.
So you can totally pull focus in your moments. And it's all about you. And then it's the next person's turn. And then if you're a generous scene partner, you keep acting with that person even though the camera's not on you.
Yeah.
Now, on stage, there ain't no cameras.
Mm-hmm.
There's no insurance that one person's going to get their camera time. So when someone says share a stage, they mean it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say it to the people I say it to. It's lovely sharing a stage with you because when you share a stage with someone, it's about knowing that it's not about being the funniest, best thing on the stage at all moments. It's about pushing your own ego aside and both of you agreeing we've pushed our ego aside because we're going to do what's best for the show so that the audience gets everything. The lighting, the sound, the costumes, the wigs, the direction, the stage, the writing. It's about all of that work. So when you put your ego aside and just put yourself in service to all of that, that's where the real good stuff happens. Because when you look into your scene partner's eye, you can tell they're with you having the conversation, not in their head thinking, how am I going to one-up this person? You know what I mean?
Kumail famously was in the MCU in the movie The Eternals.
What? No, I'm joking.
You're a Marvel person.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about what you would like to do to be if you're in the MCU?
Oh, I have more than enough ideas. Can I manifest something?
Sure,
with you
yeah,
right
please.
here,
That's
right
why
now?
I thought I'd bring it up.
Well, I'm sure they already have plans. I'm sure I'm too late. But Marvel now has regained the rights to X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a really cool idea to have a trans woman be Mystique. She is my favorite Marvel character of all time. She is my favorite Marvel character of all time. And I relate to her so much, and I think a lot of trans people do. And we think about how nice it would be to be able to just blend in and not have everyone pay attention to us if we don't want.
Yeah.
And then we also relate to the fact that, like, she's not accepted in her original form. So she has to transition to even walk around people. So I texted my agent that I was like, I don't know what's going on there, but please start dropping my name. And then the other thing I'd love to manifest is working on Agatha all along if it has another season in any context. Jo Locke is such a dear friend of mine. Catherine Hahn is one of my favorite actresses working, and I was like, what if Agatha's spirit went into a hot young trans woman? And then my hair just gets wild, you know? But really, 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 if anyone's listening, I would love a chance to interpret Mystique, truly.
That's a great idea.
And if it's not me, then it should be Hari Nef.
Those are two options. I think that's fair. Do you have suggestions of who you would like to see play Mary after you?
Yeah. Kate McKinnon, Melissa McCarthy, B.D. Wong. No, B.D. Wong as Abe. B.D. Wong as Abe. Okay, we're on Mary, though.
You can just dream cast.
Ilana Glazer. Could you? I'm going to leave it at those three. I also have said Z-Way. I think Z-Way would be a great... Drew Droege. Drew Droege could be Mary or Louise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Imagine Drew Droege as Louise. Pretty brilliant, right? But yeah, I also like casting Abe.
It is a thing now that I've seen Kumail do it that I do think it'd be useful for a lot of people if they got that experience. I feel like there's a lot of straight actors who I think would benefit from that.
I think Kumail's the proof. I mean, that kid is giddy at work. He's like, I have never seen an actor run from their dressing room so fast every time I come off stage. And I hope he doesn't listen because I don't want him to adapt anything. You know what sucks is when you tell someone something you love about them and then they stop doing it. And I can't help it. I'm like, the ADHD is so strong. Like, I start like getting ready for it. And then they're like, what the hell is happening? You know, like, I'm like, you're not doing your thing that I notice you do every day. And I come in and I wait in the spot to see you do this thing. And then they're like, what? And then it never happens again.
I'll tell Kumail, don't listen to this episode.
No.
It'll ruin your show, and then he'll definitely watch.
I don't know if that's ADHD or just...
It's something.
It's something.
When I first interviewed, we talked about Snatch Game, a drag race challenge that you are a master of. And I want to talk about another comedy challenge, as this is a comedy podcast, which is the roast, which is, again, another challenge that you're master of. But before we get to the roast, when we spoke, it was right after you won All-Stars. And it had a sense that people would like your Judy Garland a lot. But I feel like in the year since, it is like a legend that people like cannot stop bringing up to you. What has it been like to you to see this sort of like legacy of that performance?
I guess, I don't know. Again, there's so much story in Judy Garland. And again, it's like that level of celebrity plus the things that the industry does to women, plus the time period, plus her alcohol problem, plus the way men treated her. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why queer people relate to her so much, because it's like she had all these superpowers and it still didn't stop the world from crushing her, you know? But she never stopped.
So in many ways, your Judy re-brought up the feelings people have.
I think so, Mary. And I've always felt like what makes a queer icon is equal parts fabulousness and tragedy, because we turn our tragedy into fabulousness, you know, like that's what drag is. It's like so many drag queens are reclaiming. I mean, my friend Peaches Christ, I think it's obvious that she's working through something, you know? She's trolling the Catholic Church. She's made that her drag, you know? And that's why drag is... It's like, it's hard to describe drag because, like I said, every actor's doing it when they create a character. But to choose to be a drag performer is to choose to comment on gender. You know, to really pick it apart, whether you are trying to show how gorgeous and glamorous you can look and show that it's all an illusion. That's what I kind of love about the glamour queens that are like dudes out of drag. You know what I mean? You know the ones. And it's like they are the most gorgeous woman you see on the television, and then they take the makeup off, and that's a dude. You know, like that's...
Yeah.
It's all an illusion. And then you have the drag performers who are actively, like their drag is a statement of stop adhering to gender norms. And it's like, I want everyone to just dress the way they want to dress. And I talk to straight men, and I've been just studying straight men for a while now, trying to make sense of them. And it's like their spectrum of expression is this big. They might have all the privilege, but when I talk to straight men about, like, I mean, just think of everything they don't do because they're afraid to be called gay. Like, this is their spectrum. And I said this for a while, the people who have the most privilege and yet are so focused on us, It's because they can see this is our spectrum of expression. And they are jealous as fuck. They are jealous that the underlings have found a way to be happy without money.
Did you do much? You just like, sometimes you get on one.
Gal Gadot in that Snow White remake, you know what I mean? I didn't even see the movie, sorry. I'm still laughing at that.
Did you do much roasting before Drag Race? And how did you then prepared for season 5?
Well, actually, no. Season 5, I had never done any roasting because my comedy was always about making fun of myself. What a big dumb slut I am. What a drunk dumb slut I am. What a stoned idiotic slut I am.
Sure.
And that's just always been my brand of humor because I've never felt good about attacking people. In grade school, I bullied someone once, and my grandma caught me and said she was so disappointed in her sweet little sweet pea. And I just kind of never wanted to do that again. Not saying that I don't have choice words for people when it's necessary. Sure. However, Drag Race was my first roast. And then I went on the Haters Roast tour 3 years, I think, consecutively. Yeah. And I got really good at roasting. And what I love about roasting is when done well, it brings you closer to the person. Some of those girls I've become so close with because we have already said all the worst things we could possibly say to each other, and we know we still like each other. So it's like, oh, you do notice those annoying things about me, but you're still my friend. Cool. That's nice to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always say a roast is a way of telling the person you see them.
Yeah.
Which is a very intimate, nice thing.
That is a really good way to say it. And I mean, I love laughing at myself because then if I've laughed at myself, then I'm just so unimpressed with things people have to say about me. You know, like when people say, you're ugly, I'm like, and the punchline is, you know what I mean? And the only thing I don't like about roasts is the people who don't know how to do them well, and they think they know what they're going to do, and they think, this is going to kill. I'm just going to really actually be mean to this person. And it's like, you didn't understand the assignment. And that's true for, the Drag Race contestants. It's true for comedians. And I also am just kind of like, I'm so bored with comedy that punches down. Like, in this moment, if you're choosing to punch down, who the hell... Read the room. Yeah. There's such obvious material. Why would you choose the disenfranchised? And that goes for men making fun of women's bodies. And that goes for thin people making fun of large people. And that goes for all of it. It's like, why would you punch down when the Batman villains are in control?
So, and I think that distinction, because I think of people thinking roasts are that. I think that's probably when people do badly at roast. They think, this is my opportunity to punch down on
I have seen it. I have sat there and silently watched a person bomb and just thought, why didn't you run this by anyone? Truly. I think that a lot
on tour or on the show? Both.
Yes.
Do you remember, in general, do you remember any joke about you from all the years that sticks with you, that you like or don't like?
I do. I'm sure I do. But my brain... Oh, gosh.
It's okay.
I'm sure it'll come to me later.
That's fine. Do you remember speaking of remember, do you remember filming that episode, the roast episode in season 5? Do you remember anything from it?
The season 5 and the All-Stars.
What do you remember from season 5?
The season 5 roast, I was nervous until they started doing their jokes for each other. And I was like, I don't have to be nervous. But I was kind of like, I knew then that I wanted to find that fine line where you are teasing the person, but nothing that's like, why would you tease the person about that? Like, You know that's like, and also like, why do you think that's funny? You know, I really just focused on what I find funny about the person, and I also threw in some old chestnuts, you know, that dip your dick in ranch dressing. Did that make? Oh, I don't think it made the cut. Never mind.
Was that What's the joke?
No, you don't get to hear.
Why not?
It's an old chestnut in the drag bars. Okay, so you pick a trashy city nearby, right? And you say anyone from trashy city. Here we might say New. Never mind. Anyone from Rochester? Anyway, you say anyone from blah blah blah, and someone screams, and you go, God, the girls there are so easy. If you want them to go down on you, you just dip your dick in ranch dressing. And then I would say, but I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so that doesn't work on me. You have to use organic hummus instead. And then BenDeLaCreme hates that joke because she's like, why would you put something so coarse and pummousy on your dick? And I'm like, it's hypothetical.
I think also that
DeLa.
helps the joke because it
disgusting.
It makes it more visceral, the feeling of it.
I love delivering just filthy jokes as dryly as possible because that's how my mom talked to me.
The other thing from episode season 5 was the episode where Alyssa thought she was very good at it, and it was.
That's who I'm talking about.
Got it.
I love Alyssa. She was the first one. She told us 1 billion times, I don't do comedy. I don't do splits. I do splits. No, I do splits. No, I don't do acting. I don't do singing. But if I have to lip sync myself to the top.
How did you then approach the All-Stars roast? Because at this point, you've been roasting for years. Also, it's All-Stars. You knew you were going to do a roast. How was that approach? How did you think of it? How did you...
Well, the pressure there, of course, is, you know, like, if you're known for something, you're scared of fucking it up. But then if you get so scared of fucking it up, you fuck it up. So I had to kind of just trust myself. I worked really hard on those jokes, too. And I stayed up way too late working on jokes. And then that day, I broke one of my fake teeth. And and it was like a whole thing. But it was on set. We were there. And it was like as they were introducing, it was all on my mind. That actually... was better because I was thinking about that instead of like, I hope I do best.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's about trusting yourself. I like to say, if you make it doing something, why would you start fucking with what got you there, you know? And I have like 8 analogies for this, but lately I've been saying, if you hire me for my world famous pizza sauce, don't try to fuck with the recipe. Mm-hmm. Like, if my pizza sauce is world famous, why would you try to add oregano? You know what I mean? Like, don't come into my kitchen and try to fuck with my sauce.
When we talked last time, you mentioned about you got help in a variety of ways with the All-Star season, and DeLa helped a lot. I was wondering if you could tell a story that captures what it's like working with DeLa.
Okay. So I'm a Virgo, and DeLa's a Virgo Libra cusp. So it means we are both perfectionists, but I have my limits. You know, like I have a point where I'm like, it's perfect enough. And then DeLa goes, but it could be perfecter. You know, I'm like, but it's perfect. And she goes, but wouldn't it be perfecter if it was like this? And so nothing happens between us that doesn't require much conversation. Because we care so much about utilizing every opportunity to just, like I said, what's the funniest thing I can say to Katy Perry? Like, we just want to figure out what's the best thing to do for the moment.
Yeah.
And we take that seriously, and we do it through comedy because comedy is one of the best ways to express an idea, I think. Music and comedy, like, you don't want to express an idea by yelling because people listen like this. You know, like, you don't want to panic people unless that's your goal.
Can you talk about the development of the snorting coke off Evie's dick joke,
gosh.
which I believe you did
gosh.
about Trixie during the haters era?
Yeah, I can't believe you're bringing that up. What is
What? I don't know why.
What do you want to know?
No, what do you want to say? And then I'll ask you what I want to know.
What I want to say is that joke was derived from a Sarah Silverman joke that receded into my brain.
Oh, interesting.
And later, it was like when filming happened and was done and everything was in the can, I was like repeating the joke to someone, and like that person and I at the same time look at each other, and I was like licking jelly off my Catholic boyfriend's penis.
Yeah.
And then I just started praying, please, please don't use that joke. And it's like every comedian's worst nightmare, you know? Like, I don't want to be known for ripping someone off. And anyway, that happened. And
Well, I'll say I was prepared to have a conversation where you knew it was Sarah's joke, and I was like, for example, Gottmik used Nikki Glazer's joke when Gottmik was on All Stars.
Yeah.
And people were mad at Gottmik. And I was like, what do you think? I write my own jokes? Like,
No.
drag is an art of creation. And I spoke to Nikki about it, and she's like, I think it's fine. Like, she's like, I don't know why I would be mad about it.
Well, here's the thing is I've had that conversation with myself.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why I just told you the God honest truth, because I'd rather just like get it out than continue to like battle with myself over it, you know? Like, that's exactly what happened. And I think other comedians have had this happen before, too. You watch something when you're 20 years old and then you're almost 40 and you forget where you got that joke, you know? And drag is such an imitation art form that early in my career, I was totally just like, oh, that's a funny joke. I bet if I twist it this way, I could make it my own. And I don't do that anymore because I have plenty of ideas on my own, right? Like, but here's the thing, is like, I think what got Mick is kind of like talking about is comedy is not something you can do in like an allotted time.
Yeah.
You know, it's a hard thing. It's a competition, and there are confinements and stakes, you know, so you're not in a normal circumstance. And you're not with Google to like double check if you've got, you know, like if I had Google, I could have ran everything and made sure it wasn't. Do you know how many times I'm writing with DeLa? And I come up with something funny, and then the next day I go, we got to cut that joke. And she goes, why? And I was like, it's just basically something they say in Futurama. and I've watched the episode so many times since I was 20 years old that it's just part of my brain mush, you know? And so that happens sometimes. But the big thing is, the second you noticed you did it, do you cut the joke or not?
Yeah.
And DeLa and I always cut the joke because as soon as we realize it's not originally ours, we're way more interested in putting out something that's originally ours. Not just for the backlash, not just for the reputation, but that's the kind, I mean, like, I made a decision a long time ago, the kind of artist I wanted to be, and everything these days is just me trying to stay true to that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say Raja also does a Sarah Silverman joke on that same episode.
Did she get shit for it?
I don't think people... I think so, not as much as you did. Partly because RuPaul doesn't shut up about that joke.
I know, and you don't understand the shame that I have felt every time that joke gets retweeted. I'm like, my God.
I brought it up to absolve you. I think.
Well, every time I bring this up with a comedian, they're like, oh my God, so what? They're like, do you know how many comedians I watch just get on stage and rip someone off and don't think a thing about it? At least I still care.
Yeah.
That's how I tell myself, at the end of the day, at least I still fucking care.
Yeah, and I also think roasts are a joke, a medium where it's often reiterating or tilting on existing form.
Have you ever watched Lisa Lampanelli rip off Lisa Lampanelli?
Yes, I have many a time. Well, do you have a favorite joke from... Since that was the one they really highlighted, as I said, RuPaul brings it up constantly. Do you have a favorite joke? Or roast joke from any of your roasts?
Yes, my favorite joke, and I came up with it myself.
I really hope I'm nervous that I will be like, oh, wait, no, that's... Oh, no.
No, was the one about Trinity. She's very considerate. When she broke up with her last boyfriend, she said, let's just be cousins. That's my favorite joke from that roast. Yeah.
That's what I wrote down. I thought that was... I mean, I think the joke... The Evie joke is good. It just is a Sarah Silverman joke.
Right.
And it was good when Sarah Silverman did.
And, I built upon it. Yeah. At least I didn't just say her joke. At least I didn't just say, so I was licking jelly off of Evie Oddly's giant dick. No, I morphed it. I found a way. And do you know why? Because 20 years ago, I morphed it.
Yeah.
And I forgot that's what I did.
Yeah.
Like I said, these things become part of the brain mush.
Yeah, as I said, there's video of the Haters Roast where you do that joke about Trixie.
Yeah, because I'm Lisa Lampanelli and I ripped myself off. Because I was going to say, part of writing a roast is you got to pepper in the ones you know. Like, okay, this joke is risky, so I have to put in a joke I know won't bomb.
Yeah.
Comedy's a science. The people who are like, you told that joke before. I'm like, oh my God, did Beyonce sing that song before? Part of it is you come to hear the hits.
Yeah.
I'm not going to apologize for giving you the goddamn line you asked me to scream in the stage door. I just said it on stage for you in a new way, in a much funnier way than just saying it at you. You know what I mean? That's that's why eventually I realized it's not just the whole, don't read the comments. It's not just about protecting your ego, or your heart, right? Sometimes they go for your heart. And it's not just about protecting that. It's also I'm sorry, comedy's a science. When you do anything near what I've done, and that's not a have you been to space kind of thing, it's a comedy requires commitment. And the people who think that you can just absorb it through the TV and suddenly you know everything about comedy. It's no, that's not fair. I've been studying this since 5 years old in my traumatic family, and one of my favorite teachers at school said, if you want to be funny, start by having alcoholic parents. I'm like, yeah, that's where a lot of my comedy, it's where my instinct for comedy comes from, is because I constantly was trying to look at the funny bits and not the tragic bits.
Yeah. So when I last saw you, it was after a performance of Chicago, and also meeting you was a young kid who was an aspiring drag queen or something. I believe the story that they said was they had been brushing their hair all day, the wig they brought, the orange wig they brought. And that is also part of the nature of the celebrity that you have, the career that you have, as well as these dick jokes. How do you feel about it? What's it like meeting people in that situation?
Well, first of all, I have to say I've seen that kid multiple times since then, and that kid is just that kid is just a beautiful, beautiful individual. And that kid's parents are really doing it right. And so it's really nice to get to once a year see that kid after my show, and say hi and check in on them. But it's this. Like I said, the best work comes when you push your ego aside and put yourself in service to something. And as a queer artist, in a time when representation matters so much, I mean, it always has, but right now they're actively trying to snuff out this representation. So representation is under attack, but that only should affirm how important it is. Because when you see other people's stories, you can't hate them as much. And when you see yourself on TV, you can't hate yourself as much. And so I just think about the fact that me showing up and doing my job well is having an impact that I don't even have to be aware of, but I know it's happening. So the best way to do my job well is push my ego aside and serve the story of the show and serve the production. And by doing that, I'm serving my community. And I'm doing all of it in my dream job, which I like. That makes it so that I don't take a moment of this for granted. When people ask, how were you able to go from Pirates to Oh Mary in 8 days? And I'm like, I really didn't think about it. All I knew is I was doing that show and I had to do this show and we were going to figure it out. And that's been my whole career.
Yeah.
Like being on stage is my happy place. And I couldn't mean that more because it's like I have worked so hard at learning the skills that I had that help me be who I am on stage, whether I'm playing myself or playing someone else's character. I've worked really, really hard at that so that I can have confidence in myself, knowing that when I step out on stage, I'm going to know exactly what I need to do, even if something goes wrong. And for that 2 hours, the world makes sense to me. And then I step off stage and the world goes back to being this fucking shit show. You know what I mean?
But sometimes Katy Perry is there.
I still am processing that, Jesse.
That's why I asked. Now it's time for the final segment of the show. It's a laughing round. It's like a lightning round, but comedy is a laughing round.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite joke?
Yeah. What did one gay frog say to the other gay frog?
What?
Rim it, rim it. Oh, okay.
Good. That's great. A+.
That's hilarious.
That is a play on words. No, it's great.
Oh, wait, I have one more, sorry.
Sure, please.
Why do anarchists only drink herbal tea?
Why?
Because proper tea is theft. So I have a dumb one and a smart one.
Yeah. Do you have a short story of an interaction with a legendary comedian, living or dead, you're willing to share with us?
Yes. Joan Rivers and I used to share the Laurie Beachman, and we would pass each other like ships in the night. And she was very vocal about the fact that the dressing room where we met people post-show was a little tiny green hallway to the kitchen. And it was green and bright green at that. And she had hated it for years and had complained about it for years. I come in, I'm there about 2 weeks. I say, this is really unflattering. And they painted it pink. And Joan Rivers, oh, you're the drag queen who got the room painted. Oh, I've been working here for years. She doesn't like the color. It's painted immediately. Whatever. I'm going sailing with my grandkids. It was like, and then she switches into just, backstage.
What is the worst place you ever did drag in?
I'll keep it quick. There was this there was this nightclub, can't remember the name. It was like a fun house of a drag club. It was like going down the rabbit hole. It was in Mobile, Alabama. My stage was a bunch of speakers lined up against each other. There was no stage. It was just a bunch of very large speakers in an L shape against the wall, and that's what you performed on. The conditions the drag queens were getting ready under were insane. The room was just so hot, and I asked for, I was like, what do you do for air conditioning or fans? And someone said, my friend just reminded me of this. Someone said, turn on the AC for Jinkx, and a girl pointed a leaf blower at my face and turned it on. But then later in life, I met a friend who said that they made the pilgrimage from their tiny town to Mobile, Alabama to see that show, and it was one of the best nights of their life, and it motivated them to move to a gayer place so that they could be queer. So there you go. Even the worst gig has an impact.
Do you have an opinion about something that people feel is comedy that you think that's not comedy? You can pass it.
Well, people seem to think it's funny that their kids take up the whole sidewalk. They're like, oh, my dog on my leash, or the dog, the tiniest dog on the longest leash. And they're like, Peanut, sorry. No, I'm going to help share the sidewalk, but like, while you're walking through a puddle in the street. Peanut's so silly. I didn't consent to you having kids. Why do I have to deal with them?
What is the best time you ever bombed?
Queens Pride. I wasn't even there to perform. I was just there to step on the mic, wish everyone a happy Pride, remind them that I had a show. But I'm like, surely the kids want me to sing a number, and everyone stressed how much I did not need to perform. I was just there to say hi if I wanted to make a quick joke. I get up there, they say, and now Jinkx Monsoon. And everyone's screaming and clapping, and I start singing the King of Queens theme song. Under the Queensboro Bridge. My eyes are getting weary. My back is getting tight. Don't ask why I know the whole theme song. But I start singing it, and the audience is dead silent. Dead silent. No one had a chuckle. And I didn't stop until I finished. I sang the whole song, and then a car backfired, and I ducked because I thought someone shot it. And I was like, I don't think we sold any tickets.
What is a joke that you've tried multiple times, the audience didn't like it for whatever reason, but you'll go to your grave being like, I was right, they were wrong, this is funny?
I've written this joke into multiple shows with Major in Provincetown, that it's become part of our lore. So every year in Provincetown, our show would be something about, my views on a topic. That's a lot of the cabaret shows out there. So one year it was my views on the first Trump election, and one year it was my sex life. And anyway, so we're doing these shows 6 years in a row. I write a joke in saying I wanted to do a show that was an introspective An introspective look at the life and works of Jean-Paul Sartre and how they apply to today. But Major says we have to please the crowds, and no one ever laughs. And I'm like, that. And he and I say it in unison. And then one year, me in a video said it in unison because she was like, please don't bring up doing an introspective look at Jean-Paul Sartre, his life and his work and its impact on today. And no one ever laughs. Is it the name Sartre? There's no
so.
K sounds.
Thank you so much.
Of course.